When the National Street Rod Association holds its annual gathering in Louisville, Kentucky, the event is a cornucopia of cars. But the NSRA Nationals is also a place to check out new trends in the sport and see what the builders of today think will be the coming craze in years to come. Today, you get a preview. The Kentucky Exposition Center is the center hub of the NSRA Nationals, and throughout the building's main floor lobbies, exotic and elite vehicles are on display.
It's a 1936 Ford Roadster, all original steel body car. It's a 5-year build, working every day. Since the car was built a period of 1965, it's a 1965 Lincoln Continental 430 Lincoln. Has a McCullough supercharger. The crankshaft had to be modified for a pilot bearing for a stick shift transmission. Has a 5-speed Tremec and a Halbrand championship style quick change rear. Well, I had a tank built for the car that went under the car. It was shaped like a clamshell, so you went over top the Halbrand rear and you could look up and see the bottom of the tank, but just like the bottom of the floorboard. And Ross, being a safety guy, he goes, well, you know, I don't like the gas tank right there at the back of the car. It got hit on the highway. He said, I'd prefer actually for it to just be inside the car. So we built a tank and we had a Kevlar bladder made for it, and it's also foam filled, so it's quite safe. A lot of the trim on the interior, around the dash, around the doors, was all done by doing simple hand tools that any hobbyist can obtain and use at home. A simple bead roller, an English wheel that you can buy just about anywhere. Well, every gauge has a purpose, and they are early stored warners that have been changed by classic gauges to be all electronic. On the driver's side of the firewall are three master cylinders, one for front brake, one for rear brake, and one for the clutch. There was 3 items on that side of the firewall, and the passenger side was blank. And I said, well, when I was a young boy, I had a 57 Chevy Gasser, I'd put gauges on the firewall so while I was tuning the car, I could see the gauges. So we did the same thing on this. I believe this car is done aesthetically, except for mechanical maintenance, and that'll be it. After the show season this summer, we'll let it stretch its legs. We'll get it out on the highway and put some miles on it.
The Builder Showcase is a long-standing tradition with NSRA.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, every year the Builder Showcase gets better and better. I tell folks, I don't know how it gets better, but now we're seeing some of the Camaros and some of the Mustangs and cars that are newer for us, but they make a great statement.
It's a 33 Speedstar Spider. Henry never really made this car. The body was made by Rat's Glass and a Speedstar. It's kind of a stylized 33. I took it and made it more into a 37 looking with a 37-ish grill and turned it from a Roadster to a full drop-top Cabriolet. Just started with just the glass body and frame rails, and everything pretty much is custom built from the grill, headlights, back, suspension, you name it. The hood is on a linear actuator, it opens. The hood on a regular 33 or a Speedstar, it's got a real flat front grille that slopes down, and I wanted something different, so I made a stylized 37 grille with a point and extended the hood to match the point of the grille. Every rod out here is unique, one of a kind, I believe. This one is truly, because it's got the 5.6 aluminum V8 double overhead cam engine out of a Nissan Titan pickup truck. I worked for Nissan for 36 years, so I had a bit of a loyalty. I thought the motor was great. So it's running about 400 horsepower now in current tune. But the real tricky part was Nissan never made it with a manual gearbox. So I took the 6-speed manual gearbox out of a Nissan Xterra, made my own adapter plate, old school, and now it's the 6-speed Titan motor. Probably one of a kind. Masochist, yes. Labor of love, it's good therapy.
If your therapy needs run towards Fords, after the break, we'll have a red-hot Mustang for your enjoyment. Stay with us. This edition of the Lokar Car Show is being brought to you by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology. Original Parts Group, the world's largest source for GMA body parts and accessories. Evapo Rust, super safe rust remover. And by Lokar, quality plain and simple. Welcome back to the Lokar Car Show series, coming today from the 46th Annual Street Rod Nationals. This amazing event has something for everyone.
I like to see what the best that people can do. Everybody can write a check, spend a lot of money. I like to see the average guy just do the best he can do.
It's a 1957 Bel Air two-door hardtop. I love cars, but I'm a funeral director, and I'm not a mechanic. But this gentleman had this car sitting in his shop, and I found out about it, and I just worried him to death trying to buy it. And I was wanting to fix it up, and he finally told me, he said, "I'm not going to sell you this car because you don't know what you're doing, and you're going to mess it up." Hurt my feelings a little bit because I said, "I'll try anything." And I kept aggravating him about it, and finally he called me one day and said, "I've decided to sell you the car." Well, I was really excited, went out to his shop and talked to him and took my check and everything, going to pay for the car. And he said, "But there's one thing about it you've got to do." I said, "What's that, Pete?" He said, "You're going to have to leave the car here. You're going to have to come out and actually take the car apart. You're going to have to put the car back together. I will oversee it in that type of fashion to help you." And we started on it, and it's taken 2.5 years, but we took it completely apart, did a frame up on it, put a 4-link rear end under the Art Morrison, redid the front end. It's a great car. The body was in great shape. Pete fabricated the engine cover, which is all steel underneath the hood, and all the console and everything and throughout the car with the waterfalls in the back is all steel, the real deal steel. And then, of course, we did bucket seats in the rear and in the front to make it a little bit more different and comfortable. Color of the interior, the tan and the black, which the interior guy looked at me like we were crazy when we brought that up with that silver, but after it's over with, it turned out very, very well. And we're just very pleased with it. And it's just such an honor to be able to take the time to put something together that was built in 1957. It's as old as I am. And it had wrinkles in it like I do, and it had problems like I do. But it was able to be nice to go in and put it in a modern look, a modern drive, but yet retain the 1957 look of the car.
The NSRA trade show has all sorts of items on display, and one company has products covering an 80-year span.
Well, the best answer is it's a hobby gone berserk, like most of us here. But we started off, I have an engineering degree and a business management degrees, and I was working in business, but I moved to Charlotte from upstate New York 32 years ago, and I started doing a lot of side work. Pretty soon that started taking over, and I saw a need. It's a great market in Charlotte, and I had so much going through. And then I realized that it made some sense to manufacture and design some products rather than doing one car after another. And then one thing led to another. Now we've got 34 guys down there. We specialize in particularly front suspensions and complete chassis for cars anywhere from the 20s into the 90s, really, including pickup trucks and some of the muscle cars. And it's very important to understand that our frames are specific fit. We do not do a universal frame where you have to make the car fit our frame. Ours are all specific fit, body mounts line up, all of that. There's times it makes sense if you have an older restored car, just needs the proverbial shave and a haircut. Then we have drop spindles, disc brakes, improved steering, things to really upgrade it. Because many of the stock suspensions can be improved in a lot of ways. And then we take it to the next level. We maybe do a firewall forward because the biggest improvement in a chassis typically is in the front suspension. Parallel leaf rear ends work pretty well from the 20s up into today. But the front end's where the biggest bang for your buck really is. And then if we see a particular car so popular, we're building a lot of these frame clips, then we'll take that into a complete chassis front to back. We see that there's marketability for it and a need in the market for it.
We love the whole thing. I've been in this about 24 years, 25 now, and I got a 40 Ford here. And this is my daughter, Phyllis.
The best part for me, I get to hang out with my dad all day.
Look around, it's absolutely beautiful. You can't appreciate, unless you walk up and look at every car, what the people do. It's
the craftsmanship is just unbelievable.
This is a 1967 Mustang. Started life as a GT car, fastback, and then we converted it to a Illinois style or Illinois look car. So we handcrafted the front fenders, the hood, the front bumper, the trunk lid, and the two rear spoilers. We took the quarters and modified those. Those are metal now. And we opened up the vents to go all the way to the brakes. And we also built a set of upper vents so that it pulls air inside the car. Making a 4.6 fit in this car was a problem. So at this time, I had been building numerous cars by hand, and I thought, you know, I'm doing a lot of these cars. Why don't I just develop something that I can replicate? So we built what is called a platform. And in that platform, we're able to put the larger Ford motors. We can put Coyotes in them now. And you can purchase a platform and set your body on it. These allow us to use wider tires, and it's all engineered in a fashion that doesn't make you modify anything. The owner is a young lady named Amy Hemmick, and she is a pilot who flies the big jets internationally. She wanted a car that kind of exudes her personality, which is a real outgoing, fun person. So her being a pilot, we thought, well, let's give it some of the aircraft feel. So we wound up buying a set of gauges, in fact, a prototype set from Plastic Instruments that looked like aircraft gauges. And then we put an F4 Phantom jet fighter shifter in it, and we called it Aviatrix.
Sharing the same hall with that amazing Mustang is this 36 Chevy delivery truck that's been reborn. And we'll take a close look at it when we come back. Welcome back to the 46th Annual National Street Rod Association's Car and Trade Show in Louisville, Kentucky. There are over 10,000 vehicles registered for this event, and some of the custom machines here on the grounds have always been pampered. But in some cases, an existing vehicle that has had a hard life has been resurrected by a skilled builder.
This is a 1939 Chevrolet sedan delivery. You see the name on the side of it says Kemper Express Delivery. That's owned by the Kemper Furniture Company in London and Somerset. And they started their business in 1963. This vehicle was actually used when he started the company. He delivered in his truck, and they've had it for 50 years or so. So they decided they wanted to rebuild it and build it as a street rod as opposed to an antique classic car restoration, which we also do those type vehicles. Originally, these cars had a vent window in the side doors. In order to give the car a shorter look, a better stance, we actually took the vent window out and put a one-piece door glass along with a pair of windows. We also did the same thing on the windshield. Originally, the windshield came together, had a piece of trim, had two separate pieces of glass that went in, one on each side. We eliminated those and made a one-piece bent windshield. And what all that does, in effect, is gives that car a lower stance. So it worked out. There's a lot of chrome been taken off of it, like bumpers. We eliminated bumpers, but if you look and notice on the running boards, you will see chrome strips that are made. We made those out of half-inch brass and then tapered ends, fit them to the running boards. And originally the running boards were covered with a rubber mat. And we made custom smooth running boards and fitted them to the fenders, and then we put the trim on those and accent. We also did the same thing on the hood sides. Hood sides had a pop metal chromed piece that was bulky. We slimmed it down and made slim quarter-inch pieces that follow the contour of the grill. We also did the same with the center hood bar down the middle and let it follow out onto the cowl to kind of give the car a unique look. This vehicle was finished this past Tuesday. We had 4 generations of the Kempers at our shop in Knoxville, Tennessee on Tuesday morning. He told me, he said, I don't want to change anything on it. It's exactly what we wanted. It's done exactly the way we wanted it, and we're tickled to death with it.
This weekend, the Street Scene Industry Appreciation Award was given to O'Brien Truckers, a family business with a variety of products.
Well, it all started back in 1978. We were looking for a car club flag that said "No Club, No Wolf" on it because we didn't belong to a club. And we found some and sold them out real quick. 2 car clubs at a swap meet asked if we could do plaques for them. We did, and that was 37 years ago. 3,000 different clubs that we've done plaques for, a total of 140,000 plaques over the years for all over the world. And we realized, nobody just walks up and buys plaques, so we needed some other stuff. So I started off with lake pipe caps, and then we branched out. We're into air cleaners, valley covers, all kinds of engine accessories. We have about 350 different SKUs that we stock. The Optima battery box is a real good product, a good seller, the Batwing air cleaner. We're really into the traditional sand cast. No billet aluminum here. It's all the way it was done in the 50s and 60s. Most of our stuff, is for the rod and custom folks, but a lot of it's gotten up into the restaurant mod street machine group too. And for the hot rodders, we also have a really neat disc brake conversion cover, so you get the benefits of the disc brakes with the traditional look of the drum brakes.
It's a 1937 Ford pickup. We worked on this truck for about 3 to 4 years. It was rusted really bad. I mean, we had to completely make probably the bottom 8 to 10 inches of the truck. So the custom chassis that we built at our shop, it's got independent front suspension, 351 Ford crate motor, custom bed extensions. We custom built a smooth floor. The bed was actually new, and then we did the wood ourselves. We actually sprayed clear coat on it 10 different times, and we would spray it, sand it, and then clear it again until the wood stopped soaking up to clear.
We have more Builder Showcase beauties coming up, including a pair of Fords from the 30s when the Lokar Car Show returns. Stay with us. This edition of the Lokar Car Show is being brought to you by Fatman Fabrication, the hot rod innovators. Clamp Tight, the clamp making tool. Steel Rubber, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by Lokar, quality plain and simple. Welcome back to the NSRA Nationals. Everywhere you turn here in Louisville, there's plenty of automotive eye candy. Outside on the expo grounds or inside the hall, there's plenty to enjoy.
My favorite part of the show is sitting right here and watching all these awesome cars go by. It is definitely a rolling car show.
It was an original 34 Ford Cabriolet built by Ford that we made into what's called a resto mod. We basically ended up cutting the car totally apart, using the front cowl section, the back behind the driver compartment area, and pretty much building everything else from scratch. You know, it's a lot of intense labor and love, I guess. Fortunately, we've done a number of these Cabriolets, so we got a pretty good idea how to pursue the workmanship on these. I've got a very good crew at my shop that does extremely good fabrication and body work, and since we've done a number of them, that helps a bunch. We're pretty fortunate in the industry that we can get a lot of pieces, whether it be exterior, interior pieces, from many vendors that are out there. The Fords, especially the 32s and 33s and 34s, have had a lot of aftermarket products made in the past. It's a 351 Ford engine. We've updated it to 3 two-barrel carburetors because he wanted to have some little nostalgia throwback on it. It is a standard transmission. It's a 5-speed in this case with an overdrive, and it's got a updated 9-inch Ford differential in it. The wire wheels are kind of a throwback because they're similar to what the original wire wheels were on the original cars. And that was what he wanted to do, make it like a throwback car. The Greyhound is very reminiscent of the 34s and 33s, and real life, it was actually where the radiator and water was filled. Some of them actually, earlier ones had temperature gauges built right in, so you could actually see the temperature of the car going down the road. We've done 2 other cars like this, and they both had, the other 2 have also had the Greyhound on them. That's a Ford, original Ford deal. Cabriolets, of course, have got the roll-up windows, and the convertible top folds down, so you got the best of both worlds. You know, of course, we upgraded it with air conditioning and independent front suspension and stuff that we like to drive with. You know, not so much that we had to have it, we like to drive with.
Time now for the Lokar Lowdown. Quality products for show and go.
This week's Lokar Lowdown, talking about Jeeps and Wranglers and Cherokees and pedals.
We've got pedals for all the Jeep applications, and we've also got pedals for the early Ford Broncos. So we're really trying to open up and get into the 4x4 market a little bit.
You know, and what we see here with Lokar, you have your bright series, and you can also do this in midnight as well?
You can do that in midnight, which is the black as well, yes.
Okay, and just so much to check out on their catalog, all made in the USA. And now with the pedals, we're going to be wanting to do some shifting here too.
We have, and we've put some thought into that. With the muscle cars, we've been able to come up with a floor-mount shifter, and what that's done is that's opened us up to other applications, especially when you take like a CJ and you're putting a 350 turbo or a 400 turbo in it, which is what this transmission is. We also have a cable-operated version of the shifter as well.
Awesome. Check it all out, lowcar.com, lifetime warranty, and made in the USA.
It's a 1934 Ford three-window coupe. Well, this car is really a bad to the bone type car. I mean, it's, you know, it's a true hot rod. The customer bought it from a person and it was kind of messed up. So what he asked me to do is he says, look it over, tell me what we want to do to it. And then we decided to put a whole new chassis. So we built a chassis at my shop. Called Heights, got the independent rear suspension. Called Jerry from Pete and Jake's and put in the straight axle front end with the I-beam and stuff, put the hairpin front end, give it the old type look. It's a blown motor, so you know you run lower compression, so the compression ratio was lowered to it to accommodate the blown engine. And it's a 454. I think the horsepower when we dynoed it out is about 625. Some of the things we did to it is we used a different kind of gas cap on it, which Alan Johnson makes a really cool gas cap, kind of like an aircraft type cap. So we use that, put the big 454 on the side of it, put a 4-speed in it, normally people don't run 4 speeds anymore, so it's pretty cool. The neat thing about the interior is most everybody's been doing tuck and roll and, you know, different stuff like this, but we did the diamond tuck, which is kind of a lot cooler kind of look to it. The owner of the car's wife, Cheryl, she loves fuzzy dice, so she put them in there. Yeah, we put dice on the wheels, you know. I don't know if that'll work out well as far as balancing, but they sure look good. You know, when you're a car builder, you're a dream builder. You know, and most people don't understand that. I mean, you're building someone's dreams. You know, that's the big thing.
So that winds up our coverage of the NSRA Builders Showcase. But be sure to join us next time when we continue to cruise the grounds of the Kentucky Expo Center and see what the National Street Rod Association has to offer. See you then.